First up, Prime Minister Modi in Sri Lanka. Prime Minister Modi is the first foreign leader to be invited by President Disanayaka. India and Sri Lanka signed 10 MOUs, including a defence cooperation pact. Global trade battered after the Trump tariff tsunami hits global markets and investors are rattled. China response is a big tariff war now underway, even as retaliation by China includes rare earth curbs, and this looks like the worst week for US stocks, which are down by over 6%, $5.4 trillion US wealth eroded. Indian national has been stabbed to death in Rockland near Ottawa in Canada. The Indian High Commission has confirmed the incident and said a suspect has been taken into custody. Putin aides big statement on possible Ukraine security guarantees. Will this pave the way for the end of the over 3-year-long Russia-Ukraine war? PT quote. And the Signal Gate saga is far from over as Pentagon opens a probe against Pete Hegseth. Will heads roll, or will Trump 2.0 recover from its first misstep? From energy grids to tech breakthroughs to defense cooperation, Prime Minister Modi's fourth visit to Sri Lanka is set to be the most consequential, one that will elevate and reshape the India-Sri Lanka ties from here on. And watch that unmatched, non-stop ground coverage on NDTV World with me, Dwivedi, right here from Colombo. All right, the big story this week on the show, well, Prime Minister Modi is in Sri Lanka. He's on a 3-day tour to Sri Lanka in Colombo today and will be in Anuradhapura tomorrow. The two sides, India, Sri Lanka, signed 10 MOUs and also a defense cooperation pact. Before we go any further, listen in to what Prime Minister Modi said as part of the joint statements that were announced after the two leaders met and the delegation level talks between India and Sri Lanka.
हमारी नेबरहुड फर्स्ट पॉलिसी और विजन महासागर दोनों में श्रीलंका का विशेष स्थान है। पिछले 4 महीनों में राष्ट्रपति दिसानायक की भारत यात्रा के बाद से हमारे सहयोग में उल्लेखनीय प्रगति हुई है। सामपुर सोलर पावर प्लांट से श्रीलंका की ऊर्जा सुविधा में मदद मिलेगी। मल्टी प्रोडक्ट पाइपलाइन के निर्माण और त्रिंकोमाली को ऊर्जा हब के रूप में विकसित किए जाने के लिए जो समझौता हुआ है, उसका लाभ श्रीलंका के सभी लोगों को मिलेगा। दोनों देशों के बीच ग्रिड इंटरकनेक्टिविटी समझौते से श्रीलंका के लिए बिजली एक्सपोर्ट करने के विकल्प खुलेंगे।
I thank the Government of India for its support and cooperation in finalizing the debt restructuring agreements. And we also discussed in detail about furthering our collaboration in the already excellent defense cooperation between the two countries. I reaffirmed Sri Lanka's stance that it will not permit its territory to be used in any manner inimical to the security of India as well as towards regional stability.
Top-wise segment on the show, response to what really is unfolding in Sri Lanka. All right, let's decode how significant this this visit is. Let's also decode the Defence Cooperation Pact and also the commentary that's come in by the Prime Minister with regard to the Tamils in Sri Lanka. Let's get in former Foreign Secretary Shashank joining us for more on this. Sir, first let me start by asking you about the Defence Cooperation Pact. The message, the commentary and the fact that it's now a pact that has been signed between India and Sri Lanka. Your thoughts on that?
Well, it's extremely important for India and Sri Lanka to be on the same page because Sri Lanka's security is vital to India's security and vice versa. I think there was a time when Sri Lanka really became almost bankrupt and its domestic civil strife, and therefore it had to depend on outside powers to a great extent. And I think especially China took advantage of that and started sending its submarines and other technical ships, surveillance equipment ships, etc., to this area. And Sri Lanka could not say no to them. When it came to Sri Lanka being supported in the international financial institutions, it is the Indians who were willing to give about $3 to $4 billion underwriting all the losses for Sri Lankans. And then I think the Sri Lankan people realized that what our friendship meant to both sides. And it is not really that the India was trying to take advantage of them. For a long time, I think there was this impression among the smaller countries in South Asia. So that has gone now. I think Sri Lanka is now really want to have a strong defense relationship with India.
Yes. Security interests between India and Sri Lanka are aligned, and Prime Minister Modi also said that he's grateful for the support of President Disanayaka. Then let me ask you this, that once this defense framework, this pact comes into being, how significant do you think it will be in terms of countering China in this region?
Well, let us not first think of countering China. Let us first think of the first priorities, that is Sri Lanka security, India security. And I think this time they have agreed that Sri Lanka would not do anything which will undermine India's security or the securities and stability in this region. Therefore, that is the first priority for both Sri Lanka and India. Second step would be that if China wants to control any of the countries in this region and trying to have overriding power for their shipping, monitoring, surveillance, etc., so then we will have to tell them that, look, this will not be allowed because this will be against the interests of the region. And I'm quite sure that this is how gradually, if we build up our ties, to further strengthening the relationships. And fortunately, Mr. Disanayaka has been in India as a student, so he knows
very quickly, sir.
Yes.
Okay. Very quickly, sir, I want to ask you about the significance of developing Trincomalee along with UAE, India and Sri Lanka, the significance of that.
No, Trincomalee, there are two aspects. One is that they have these old wells to store oil, and so as a strategic petroleum reserve, they can be used. They were used in the Second World War period. And India had signed agreement long time ago with the Sri Lankans that they could use them for their strategic petroleum reserve. So I think they need to work on that. And Trincomalee is extremely important, otherwise also for the movement of the Indian ships.
Indeed. All right, let's leave it there, sir. Thank you so much for speaking to me on India.
Thank you, Gauri.
Okay, the first wide angle on the show. Well, after months of diplomatic deadlock, Russia's envoy has opened the door when it comes to security guarantees for Ukraine. And what form could this mean? Is it really a genuine shift, or could it be just another power game, given the fact that President Putin has been dragging his feet in terms of trying to find some sort of a peace solution? This report has all the answers for you.
At the BIMSTEC summit, amidst the diplomatic fury, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's meeting with Bangladesh's chief advisor, Mohammad Yunus, wasn't just a routine handshake. It was a bold statement. Modi raised the red flag over the safety of minorities in Bangladesh, particularly Hindus, urging the Bangladeshi government to ensure their security and thoroughly investigate cases of atrocities. But Prime Minister Modi didn't stop there. While he drew the line on critical issues, his message was clear. India remains open to dialogue. Like a responsible big brother, India isn't just pointing fingers, it's offering a hand of constructive engagement.
Prime Minister reiterated India's support for a democratic, stable, peaceful, progressive and inclusive Bangladesh. He once again underlined to Professor Yunus India's desire to forge a positive and constructive relationship with Bangladesh.
The Prime Minister touched on border security, emphasizing strict law enforcement and curbing illegal crossings, especially at night. It was a masterstroke, balancing firmness with flexibility, concern with cooperation.
Nahi. Take a quick break. We come back with more on the other side. From energy grids to tech breakthroughs to defense cooperation, Prime Minister Modi's fourth visit to Sri Lanka is set to be the most consequential, one that will elevate and reshape the India-Sri Lanka ties from here on. And watch that unmatched, non-stop ground coverage on NDTV World with me, Dwivedi, right here from Colombo. Did we?
Yes, we did.
Professional monitoring?
Activated.
This summer, leave your worries behind. Protect what matters to you with Simply Safe Home Security. Systems start from under £200 with a professional monitoring plan. There's no safe like Simply Safe.
Get £8 off at selected restaurants on Just Eat. Use code APRIL8 now.
Did somebody say Just Eat?
What they don't tell you about getting older is how much fun it can be. Enjoying all the things you've worked so hard for. Spending time with the people that really matter. Not to mention, finally finding that precious time for yourself. I don't want anything taking my best years away from me, but like so many people, I've seen the heartbreak that dementia can cause. That's why I'm asking everyone to order this essential free guide from Alzheimer's Research UK. It's called Your Brain Matters. We all know what's good for our heart and our lungs, but do you know how to keep your brain healthy too? Well, this guide tells you how, in 7 steps you can start taking right now, whatever your age. Just ring the number on screen to get your free copy. Inside you'll find facts and tips that can keep your brain healthy and help reduce your risk of developing dementia. It's advice you can really trust from leading dementia scientists. Read it, keep it, and check back whenever you need to. Order your free copy now. Call Alzheimer's Research UK on 0800 035 5984 or text BRAIN2 to 78866. Think of it as another way of planning for your best years, because your brain really matters.
Will you tell me if I'm flying to Delhi to New York, can I take a stopover in Dubai to explore, or do you think it'll be too hectic?
Looking for holiday and flight recommendations in strange places? Don't. Just come to Brightson. Brightson Travel, making travel brighter.
With Post Office Over 50s life cover, enjoy peace of mind knowing your family will receive a guaranteed payout when you're gone. UK resident 50 to 80, you're guaranteed acceptance. No health checks and from just £1.15 a week. Plus free 24/7 GP access with the health and wellbeing benefit. Purchase and receive a £125 gift card for amazon.co.uk, Tesco or M&S. Call Post Office on 0800 171 2211.
5% and more. In fact, S&P was down 6%. Now, what's the reason? The reason is for the fact that the U.S. economy may be going into a recession. The report that came in from JP Morgan, that really rattled global markets. U.S. is a $30 trillion economy. The report suggested that the U.S. imports may actually go down to their 1986 levels, which is going back almost 40 years. You can't go back in time 40 years, or at least that's what the world is trying to tell Donald Trump, but he is rewriting the rules of global trade, and this is how equity markets are in fact responding. But that isn't the last of the tariffs, viewers. The tariff war that the world was expecting, well, it's fully underway, and the reason why we say that is that there is, after US announced tariffs, and they kicked in at midnight across US ports with rates higher than 50%, which are set to follow next week. China has come out with its own set of retaliatory tariffs, which means that there is a trade war underway between the world's largest and second largest economy. Ripple effects will be felt by every other economy in the world, and which is why markets are reacting, which is why investors are reacting, and which is why there is a fair bit of nervousness in terms of how this will pan out. Will Donald Trump go back on his words? Will there be some sort of a middle ground that will be identified? Will trade pacts now essentially be bilateral in nature, with all countries trying to extract the best possible exception for themselves in Trump 2.0 regime? No one has the answers, and if there's one thing that markets and investors dislike the most, it is the fact that they don't have answers, and which is why some of those indices that we pointed out to you are deeply in the red. Come Monday, is there going to be any relief? Again, no answers. Over the weekend, there could be more bad news for global markets, global trade? Again, no answers. And it is the lack of answers that is fueling speculation, nervousness, and some would say even trepidation. All right, on that note, we now turn our attention to the first inside story on the show. In a world where borders divide and distances separate, one thing remains clear, which is the plight of our countrymen abroad is not forgotten. Today we shed light on a distressing reality, which is the fact that 10,000 Indians are currently imprisoned in foreign jails, with many enduring harsh conditions, whether it's Saudi Arabia, whether it's the UAE. And despite efforts to bring them back home, there are challenges at stake. Which are the countries where Indians are struggling the most? What are the diplomatic efforts that India has been trying to ensure that these come back? This report tells you more.
The iron bars of foreign jails, cold stone walls, and the silence of uncertainty. This is the grim reality for over 10,000 Indian nationals languishing behind bars in 86 countries. Some as under trials, some enduring sentences that seem to have no end in sight. Saudi Arabia and the UAE, where more than 4,000 Indians are incarcerated, top this disturbing list. In recent years, many have found themselves behind bars, with reasons ranging from petty offences to unfortunate legal missteps. The Indian government's response, led by the Ministry of External Affairs, is unwavering, constantly working with local authorities for their release. Yet, despite transfer of sentenced prisons agreement with 12 countries, only 8 prisoners have been brought back to India in the last 3 years. But hope is not lost. Since 2014, India's diplomatic efforts have yielded great results. Nearly 10,000 Indians have been released from foreign prisons, thanks to persistent negotiations and personal intervention from Prime Minister Modi. The release of Indian prisoners from countries like Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, and Qatar highlights a growing global diplomatic posture and stature for India. High-profile cases such as the release of Indian Navy veterans from Qatar and the freeing of Indian fishermen from Sri Lanka only underline successful negotiations. This isn't just an issue about prisoners, it's about the lives and families left behind. It's about the unseen struggles of those who waiting for justice, waiting for the return of their loved ones. As this battle continues to unfold, one thing remains clear. India is not backing down, the fight for freedom is far from over, and the voices of those behind bars will not go unheard.
And as we talk about those jailed Indians, there's distressing news coming in, which is that an Indian national has been stabbed to death in Canada. We don't know the details, but it's important to point out, it's important to highlight the plight every time there is an Indian national who's in distress overseas. Here it is, a national has been stabbed to death in Rockland near Ottawa in Canada. The Indian High Commission has confirmed a suspect has been taken into custody, and we await more details from the probe. All right, shifting focus, it's time to get you the Worldview segment on the show. All right, it's time to get you the Worldview segment on the show. First up is Pete Hegseth, and then, of course, the latest as far as what's unfolding in South Korea.
The mightiest can fall as South Korea's impeached President Yoon Suk Yeol faces rebellion charges for his controversial martial law decree. What seemed like an act of power has plunged the nation into chaos. Yoon's desperate declaration of martial law, lasting only 6 hours, echoes memories of dictatorship and reignites political divisions. Prosecutors charge him with rebellion, a crime punishable by death or life imprisonment. With power comes great responsibility, but when that power is abused, even the strongest must answer. The Pentagon investigation could very well be the beginning of the end for Trump's Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth. Classified details about strike timings, aircraft models, and missile launches must be kept under lock and key. Hegseth's team updates defense isn't holding water, and with classified information slipping through the cracks, the walls are closing in. The investigation could be the start of the unraveling of more than just one Korea. Is Gen Z lazy? Think again, because they are mastering something you might have missed: the art of knowing when to quit. Oxford professor Catriona de Volder says they're not lazy, they're practicing justified effort management. And it's a game changer. No more grinding till you're dead on your feet. Gen Z knows when to hit pause and when to push forward. Their mantra, smart rest equals smarter results. Maybe it's time we all learn from them. Stop glorifying burnout and start celebrating strategic chill.
All right, it's now time to tell you about the one woman who's in the news, French far-right leader Marine Le Pen. And remember, she's in fact in the dock for embezzlement charges. She did get a relief from the courts, but more importantly, who's got her back? Donald Trump has got her back. It seems that Marine Le Pen may be able to run for office. But what really happened this week in Europe and its far-reaching impact, this report tells you.
Trump is once again stirring the pot on the global stage, backing Marine Le Pen, the French far-right firebrand, after a Paris court sentenced her for embezzling EU funds. Le Pen, barred from holding political office for 5 years, had been eyeing a run for president in 2027. But Trump, ever the controversial figure, has thrown his support behind her, calling the conviction a politically motivated witch hunt and equating it to his own legal battles. Trump's endorsement is part of a broader pattern of support for far-right leaders in Europe, including his backing of the Alternative for Germany, AfD party, and the controversial Romanian candidate Calin Georgescu. After his America First doctrine, Trump is not just challenging traditional American foreign policy, but aligning with populist movements across the Atlantic. In his post, Trump blasted European leftists for using lawfare, weaponizing the legal system to stifle free speech and silence political rivals. He compared Le Pen's conviction to his own struggles with the legal system, painting both as victims of an orchestrated campaign by corrupt lawyers and politicians. Le Pen, who insists her conviction is politically motivated, has vowed to appeal the court's ruling. But the political fallout in France is palpable, as Trump's support further deepens the transatlantic rift between populists and mainstream politicians.
But that is a wrap on this edition of India Sense, coming to you from Colombo. Next week, back to our studios in Noida. Thanks so much for watching. From energy grids to tech breakthroughs to defense cooperation, Prime Minister Modi's fourth visit to Sri Lanka is set to be the most consequential, one that will elevate and reshape the India-Sri Lanka ties from here on. And watch that unmatched, non-stop ground coverage on NDTV World with me, Dwivedi, right here from Colombo.
Nothing beats a celebration. And at Tesco Mobile, we're ringing in 30 years of Club Card with deals like the awesome new Samsung Galaxy A56 with 12 gigs of data for just £27.99 a month with Club Card prices, saving you £144. Better yet, that price is frozen for the duration of your contract. And you can even bag a £30 Tesco gift card too. It pays to be connected. Search Tesco Mobile. Every little helps.
If your garage looks like this, you need Tougher Man. A leading supplier of shelving for your home or business. Assembly is quick, easy and boltless. Buy one bay from just $59.99, or you can get 3 bays from only $119.99, saving you nearly £60. Plus you get a 5-year Storelex steel guarantee. Order now at tougherman.co.uk.
This poor creature is a lion trapped in a cold, bare cage, alone. Terribly malnourished, just skin and bone. How can anyone simply leave a lion to rot and die? Right now, there are thousands of big cats suffering the same torment, languishing in cruel cages, neglected, abandoned, left to die. Will you help Four Paws free big cats suffering around the world right now? Please call 0800 035 7798, text RESCUE to 70544, or go online and give just £3 a month. Help Four Paws cut the bars and rescue these cats from their prisons. Help us take them to our sanctuaries where they can begin to recover. You'll be setting big cats free from pain and protecting them from cruelty, letting them see the blue sky above and breathe the clean, fresh air of freedom for the first time. But they are the lucky ones. Please call 0800 035 7798, text RESCUE to 70544 to give £3 a month via your mobile phone. Because if no one cuts the bars and frees these big cats, they will die trapped and alone.
With Post Office Over 50's life cover, enjoy peace of mind knowing your family will receive a guaranteed payout when you're gone. UK resident 50 to 80, you're guaranteed acceptance. No health checks and from just £1.15 a week. Plus free 24/7 GP access with the health and wellbeing benefit. Purchase and receive a £125 gift card for Amazon.co.uk, Tesco or M&S. Call Post Office on 0800 171 2211.
This is NDTV, and you're watching NDTV 24/7.
Prime Minister Modi in Sri Lanka on a 3-day visit holds talks with President Disanayaka, assures support to Sri Lanka in key sectors, raises concerns of Indian fishermen. Aam Aadmi Party's Amanatullah moves Supreme Court against Waqf Bill after Congress and AIMIM, third party to approach Supreme Court. Waqf divides India bloc. Shiv Sena UBT Sanjay Raut says Waqf file closed for us will not go to Supreme Court. Leader of opposition Rahul Gandhi slams Waqf bill, says bill targets other communities, need to defend constitution. The initial 10% baseline tariff has taken effect at the US seaports, airports and custom warehouses, ushering in Trump's full rejection to the system of mutually agreed tariff rates. A very good afternoon. Thank you for tuning into NDTV 24/7. I'm Priyanka Das and I'll be taking you to the top story. And the big one we're tracking right now is Prime Minister Modi's visit to Sri Lanka. PM Modi was also conferred with Sri Lanka's highest civilian honour, the Mitra Vibhushan Medal. PM Modi, who is on a 3-day state visit to the island nation, also has sought the immediate release of Tamil fishermen during his bilateral talks held with the Sri Lankan President Anura Kumara Disanayaka. The recurring arrests of fishermen from Tamil Nadu and the seizure of their boats by the Sri Lankan authorities have been a long-standing conflict between the two countries. The two sides also signed several agreements across sectors such as energy and trade, including an ambitious defense cooperation pact for the first time. The defense pact comes amid China's growing influence across the Indian Ocean region. In his address, PM Modi said that loans to Sri Lanka worth $100 million were converted into grants as he highlighted India's assistance during the COVID-19 pandemic and the 2022 economic crisis. On Sunday, PM Modi will visit the sacred Jaya Sri Maha Bodhi temple in Anuradhapura and open major railway projects linking Sri Lanka's north and Colombo. Let's go across to my colleague Gauri Dwivedi, who is reporting live from Colombo to get us the latest details. Gauri, help us understand the highlights of the agreements that have been signed between India and Sri Lanka.
Yes, you mentioned some of them, Priyanka, and they are quite important in terms of the defense framework that India and Sri Lanka have agreed to. As part of that, and in fact, this is what the press statements also were made from both the leaders, which is that concerns are appreciated, security concerns are appreciated from both sides, and efforts will be made to ensure that neither side in fact, harms the strategic interests of the other party. And that, I think, is extremely important given the fact, the context in which India is operating in the neighborhood, the fact that there is a growing and large Chinese presence in the Indian Ocean region, a military engagement with far-reaching strategic possibilities will definitely go a long way in terms of ensuring India continues to play an important role in the Indo-Pacific, in the Indian Ocean region, in its immediate neighborhood, and also ensure that India and Sri Lanka ties continue to strengthen further. That's the first important thing. The other very crucial aspect of these meetings was the development of Trincomalee as an energy hub, where India and Sri Lanka will work with UAE. So it's a tripartite agreement that will be signed, and there will be engagements with 3 countries to try and identify best possible ways in which Trincomalee can be developed as an energy hub. It has area where energy resources have been identified. India will sign some agreements and will be developed further with the help of UAE. So that could be an extremely long-term strategic area for India and Sri Lanka. The third other important fact is that the PM did mention about the economic assistance, the economic way in which assurances have been given, assistance has been given, and very concessional loans have been given to Sri Lanka in the last 5-6 years on 3 different occasions. The Christchurch attacks in 2019, the COVID that followed a year later, and 2022, the economic disaster that Sri Lanka was in. During all of that time, Indian assistance was there and a lot of concessional loans, and the latest, another $100 million loan has actually been converted into a grant, part of the sentiment where India wants to extend a helping hand to Sri Lanka to help it grow further. And as part of that, those 10 MOUs, most of which are related to economic and energy areas of cooperation, have been signed between New Delhi and Colombo.
Right, Gauri, thank you so much for getting us all those details and sharing some insights onto the key agreements that have been signed between India and Sri Lanka. Let's listen into also what Prime Minister Modi said.
हमारी नेबरहुड फर्स्ट पॉलिसी और विजन महासागर दोनों में श्रीलंका का विशेष स्थान है। पिछले 4 महीनों में राष्ट्रपति दिसानायक की भारत यात्रा के बाद से हमारे सहयोग में उल्लेखनीय प्रगति हुई है। सामपुर सोलर पावर प्लांट से श्रीलंका की ऊर्जा सुविधा में मदद मिलेगी। मल्टी प्रोडक्ट पाइपलाइन के निर्माण और त्रिंकोमाली को ऊर्जा हब के रूप में विकसित किए जाने के लिए जो समझौता हुआ है, उसका लाभ श्रीलंका के सभी लोगों को मिलेगा। दोनों देशों के बीच ग्रिड इंटरकनेक्टिविटी समझौते से श्रीलंका के लिए बिजली एक्सपोर्ट करने के विकल्प खुलेंगे।
I thanked Prime Minister Modi and the Government of India for the valuable support extended to Sri Lanka towards our economic recovery, growth and stability. I also conveyed that India's assistance to Sri Lanka in times of need and the continuing solidarity are deeply cherished. And as a result of this friendship, we have been able to focus on economic transformation, infrastructure development, and we have gained many results in this field. And the neighborhood first is the India's foreign policy, and according to this policy, Prime Minister Modi expressed India's full commitment and support to the economic recovery process of Sri Lanka.
After the discussions, the leaders oversaw the exchange of as many as 7 agreements and memoranda of understanding, and they virtually inaugurated the construction of the Sampur solar power project. They also inaugurated the recently completed temperature-controlled warehousing facility at Dambulla, which is possibly the first facility of its kind in the island, and a project for supply of solar rooftop systems to nearly 5,000 religious institutions across Sri Lanka.
From energy grids to tech breakthroughs to defense cooperation, Prime Minister Modi's 4th visit to Sri Lanka is set to be the most consequential, one that will elevate and reshape the India-Sri Lanka ties from here on. And watch that unmatched, non-stop ground coverage on NDTV World with me, Dwivedi, right here from Colombo.
Shifting focus, Union Home Minister Amit Shah, who is on a 2-day tour of Chhattisgarh to assess the anti-Naxal operations and reinforce the government's commitment to ending Naxal terrorism by March 31st, 2026. Amit Shah said, I once again urge those who have weapons in their hands and those who don't, our Naxal brothers, to give up their arms and return to the mainstream. No one gets happy when a Naxal is neutralized and this region needs development. Shah's visit essentially underscores the centre's determination to eradicate the Naxal menace, with Chhattisgarh being a key focus area. Let's listen in to the Union Minister.
ये जमाना चला गया जब यहाँ पर गोलियां चलती थी, बम धमाके होते थे, मैं आज भी सभी जिनके हाथ में हथियार है वो और हथियार नहीं है वो, सभी नक्सली भाइयों को विनती करने आया हूं, आप हथियार डाल दीजिए, मेन स्ट्रीम में आइए, आप हमारे अपने हैं। कोई भी नक्सली मारा जाता है, किसी को आनंद नहीं होता है, मगर इस क्षेत्र को विकास चाहिए।
As the contentious Waqf bill continues to create a lot of uproar, the India bloc now appears divided on the matter. After Congress and the Aam Aadmi Party and the AIMIM moved to Supreme Court over the Waqf bill, now Shiv Sena UBT's Sanjay Raut and Samajwadi Party's Akhilesh Yadav too have chimed in. Let's listen into their reactions.
सर, बिल को लेकर सुप्रीम कोर्ट में चैलेंज किया गया, आपको लगता है उम्मीद है आपको सर?
नहीं, हमने हमारा काम कर दिया है। हमको जो कहना था, हमको जो बोलना था, हमको जो निर्णय लेना था, हमने लिया है। अब हमारे लिए ये फाइल बंद हो गई है
कि वक्फ के लिए जो कानून लेकर के आए हैं, ये भारतीय जनता पार्टी के लिए वाटरलू साबित होगी। केवल यही नहीं, भारतीय जनता पार्टी करोड़ों रुपए खर्च कर रही है, करोड़ों तो कम बोल रहा हूं मैं। उनके बहुत सारे सीनियर लीडर्स जो यूपी के बाहर भी हैं, अन्य प्रदेशों में भी बैठे हैं, दिल्ली में भी हैं, गुड़गांव में भी हैं, उनके सेंटर्स हैं, वो करोड़ों रुपए खर्च करते हैं सोशल मीडिया पे बदनाम करने के लिए। इधर आपने देखा होगा, जब से वक्फ का बिल पास हुआ है और जो इतिहास को लेकर के चर्चा देश में छिड़ी है, बड़े पैमाने पर सोशल मीडिया से लेकर के और जगह पर बहुत सारा प्रचार किया जा रहा है, समाजवादियों के खिलाफ, कांग्रेस पार्टी के खिलाफ, इंडिया गठबंधन के खिलाफ।
Let's go across to my colleague Anuj to get more details on this. Anuj, help us understand really now the Indie bloc essentially gets divided further on the Waqf bill and the concerns related to it, with UBT saying that the Waqf is a closed file for them. How do you reckon it will affect the alliances going ahead?
The actions of Shiv Sena Uddhav Sahib Thackeray bloc has been under question, has been under the scanner ever since this matter of Waqf started to kind of come, started to surface across the country. Essentially because Shiv Sena has always very proudly held their Hindutva ideology, and that is exactly what Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis highlighted when he, in a way, reminded